One-fourth of the legendary Firm group, which was like an all-star group when it came out. Which leads me to my first question. You know I like you watch the show, you know I'm gonna send it over some shit. Let's go. Why didn't you sign with Nas?
Why didn't I sign with Nas?
Why didn't you sign with Nas?
Nas never proposed a deal for me. You know, at the end of the day, you know, we were friends in the hood, you know what I'm saying? He had a situation going on. He had probably just maybe got that type of power, but at the end of the day, it was never a deal for me on the table at that time, per se, for him, from him. You know what I'm saying? I wound up signing with the Trackmasters only because they put up the situation. They put up the bread. They put up all that shit. You know what I'm saying? When I signed, for the most part, my back is against the wall. I'm like in the hood. I'm in the hood getting in trouble. I'm, you know what I'm saying? I'm back and forth in jail, shit like that. So to say, yo, I got a situation for you. Here goes some bread. I would have pretty much jumped on it. I mean, because that was the team. You know what I'm saying? And for the most part, me and Nas' relationship was more friends than more so business. I didn't meet you into the business. I knew you from the hood.
From the hood,
So it was just a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Not like to say like I couldn't have or I shouldn't have, but it was really never offered to me. That was never offered to me. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Would you have? Would you have?
At the time, if it was structured right, I mean,
doing business with friends can always be a little funky. Like,
I mean, because I'm signed to, I'm used to coming to a major label. Like the guys that we were dealing with were in charge of a division in Columbia Records. So every time we would go to see them, we're in the big building. So I'm used to the big building, the offices, and all of these people that I don't know that's working on my project and shit like that. To have my man say that I know that he might have the money per se to sign me, but I don't see the
structure.
Right.
Like you would probably instantly have to hand me off to somebody else who I probably don't have a relationship with anyway. We might clash at the time because I'm like, who are you? You know, you're forced to throw all these into, you know, extra parties into the picture. So,
you
know.
And you thought of that.
That's like the deep part of thinking. But at the end of the day, it was pretty much the money and, you know what I mean?
Just trying to stay out of trouble.
The chance to just get to do what you want to do, and Trackmaster was still very, very valid. Shout out to Tony Pope. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they were those
that
guys.
was a good place to. That was a good place to be because they got relationships with everybody on down. So
because
they were the
prior to
Neptunes
that,
of that
prior
era.
to that situation probably being able to happen, the Firm, which you probably were asking me about anyway, already happened. So I'm already, like I said, I'm in the mix of all of these meetings.
You know,
it's happening. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's a little bit different.
All right, so at the time, Jungle was managing you, right?
I guess you could say, yeah.
Kind of? Okay, all right, cool. Let's go back. Queensbridge. I said this many times, like, Queens, the borough of Queens is probably like the place where the most rappers have come out of. Like, I don't think there's a comparable.
I thought Brooklyn had a lot of rappers.
Brooklyn has a lot
We need
of
to
rappers.
go down the list.
Let me ask you this.
Brooklyn got a lot of rappers.
Do a Brooklyn Mount Rushmore and a Queens Mount Rushmore. Think about it.
Bro, the
I'm
Queens one is
keeping
gonna
it a
be
buck
tough.
though. I'm keeping it a buck
tough.
though. I'm keeping it a buck though. My niggas from Queensbridge always felt we was Queensbridge. Like there's Queens and then there's Queensbridge.
Like kind of like how Far
So
Rockaway.
there's a separation.
About Southside.
No, like even though we all rocking,
We don't rock it.
but I'm from the projects, and not just I'm from the projects. I'm from the biggest
projects, right?
So we self-contained. So the only time, sometimes you only see certain niggas is like when I go to the Ave to go see my PO, or you might be fucking with a chick. But at the end of the day, when you from certain places in NYC, once you say where you from, I kind of know who, you know, I kind of know what you about a little something. I'm expecting to know what you about.
Right.
Unless you show me otherwise.
Right.
But us in Queensbridge was like, yo, like whatever. You know what? You know what I mean? Niggas was just, niggas didn't give a fuck. Just like niggas from Brooklyn and anywhere else, you know what I'm saying? We meet up in the clubs, and you see Brooklyn's always over there, but niggas stuck together when it came down to the hip hop scene and shit like that. But in real life, niggas ain't really fuck with each other.
In real life, they did. Okay, we're gonna get into that. It's another thing we're gonna get into.
Yeah.
All right, let's take it back.
What up?
You rapping in Queensbridge. All right. If you walk down the block, you got Havoc and P. Come up the block, you got Nas. You go around the corner, you got
Tragedy.
Everywhere. They're just everywhere.
Omega. Different people all over.
How about
the place.
this? Ron Artest.
No, we talking about rappers.
No, but I'm just
Shout
talking
to Ron
about.
Artest. He
I'm talking about the level of the hood itself, the quality of humans.
This is a rich environment.
Yeah, rich. Exactly.
This is a rich environment.
Yeah.
Son. If you're a rapper and you growing up in Queensbridge, like, bruh.
I think what made it a little bit easier for us is the fact that, like you said, Havoc. Prior to that, like, you know, you could go down generations. Like, you know, you got Marley Marl. You got people that was doing shit like that. But when I say that, like, Marley Marl is the brain to so many shit. Like Havoc, like when I talk about Queensbridge, it's real easy to say we created our own sound, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about like Mobb Deep, but I'm talking about the generation from Mobb Deep. I don't even talk respect to Marley Marl and all that.
Right.
But when you talk about Mobb Deep, right? The difference between Mobb Deep and some of those other groups is that Havoc in them was creating their sounds, where other people right now might be sampling and mimicking other shit. They had those dirty sounds that, you know what I'm saying, that maybe they're only like the RZA you could be like, ooh, he has some dirty shit. They just made their own sound. When you hear it, you know that is that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Other people had to go to producers to try to create shit. Like if you talk about a Nas and some of these other guys, they had to kind of create the sound. But Havoc and them always did their own shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's different.
And so Queensbridge guys kind of like made this kind of music that if you grew up around that time and you was really kind of into rap, you know what I mean? You might pick and choose who your favorite is out of the hood for different reasons. You might like whatever, you know what I mean? To each his own, like wherever, my honest opinion.
Right.
But everybody delivered in a way where it kind of like, it was like rapid back to back. Those early years, it was like, holy shit. And the only way that you even heard these guys was through New York City mixtapes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you had the option of knowing somebody that lived in the hood, of course you might know about it, but shout out to the mixtapes that kind of kept all of these niggas alive and
shout out to
like
Clue.
The Clue and
Shout out to
fucking
Clue.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
If it wasn't for those guys, because those songs and shit like that wasn't on the radio, you didn't have the option to turn in the radio on and hearing that shit. But if you had the mixtapes, you might buy that shit just because only 2 names is on that most. If you a hip hop fan, like you might look at that shit and be like, I don't want this shit.
I don't know
I'll buy the whole tape just to hear.
Right. Just for them 2 joints.
And so I came up in
That's a fact. Exactly.
I came up in
You spoiled. You spoiled, son. You spoiled.
I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know Clue was becoming that hot. I just knew that when I got the call, he was allowing me to get on his tape like early. It was a thing that, you know, you could get on the tapes, but after a certain number, they gonna, you know, people gonna start fading out. You start, you know. Right. So, but the first 9. See, I was supposed to say a number 9.
I forgot to bring that up with Clue, man.
Because everybody wanted to be in the first 9 records all the time.
Because by number 10,
how can I be number 2? How can I be number 3? Type of shit.
Yeah, Clue said he was feeling the pressure because everybody wanted the number 1 slot. And it wasn't until he got Fabulous that he could, you know, argue like, this my artist. Like, you can't argue that shit, you know what I mean? But that shit used to be crazy for him. Now, what is it like? You come outside, everybody's around, you're an artist yourself. Like, why didn't I hear about Nature before the firm needed a replacement?
Because Nature never viewed itself as an artist like that. Nature just knew that he could rap just as good as anybody you put him next to. I've never been around anybody, but I know I can mimic shit. I know I love this shit, but I come up in an era where nobody's not really making no bread. So how hard am I really gonna go? My guys, a couple guys I know in the hood is making bread, but I still don't really know. I'm still in love with the streets. I don't know what I wanna do. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the hood, I love it all. I love playing basketball, I love bitches, I love it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just knew that I could do it. So it wasn't until my story's kind of different from everybody else. Some guys actually like applied for the job. I didn't really apply for the job. I just knew the right people, and I could do you know what I mean? When it was time to show up, I show up. I'm the guy that like never came to practice, but when it's time to come, I practice. What you talking about? Yeah, what the fuck you talking about? Let's go. When it's time to go, we go. You know what I'm saying? But it hurt me when it came down to business in the long run. But growing up, it made me love it because other than the guys that you might be thinking about normally, like you just named all of the tragedies, it was the guys before that made me actually love it, because I didn't know across the street these guys was loving it just as much as me, you know what I'm saying? These guys just put out records before me, you know what I'm saying? If you really want to know, like, dig into my history, the very first people that got me to go into the studio to record a record was Screwball. Have you ever heard of Screwball? You know what I'm saying? Poet, rest in peace, KL, you know what I'm saying? Hostile. You know what I'm saying? But they was like the first ones to kind of like invite me to the studio, and that's the first time I heard my voice on this shit like that. But other than that,
what was that like?
Incredible. Incredible. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, holy shit, I could hear myself and fucking, you know what I'm saying? I'm always still to this day kind of like my worst critic when it comes down to shit. I'm sure you like don't like certain shit, and people be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Good, leave it. Nah.
I always kind of been like that, but these guys gave me the opportunity to get in the studio, take my little fucking shit home and play it fucking 5,000 times to everybody and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But I never really had like a complete book of rhymes. Niggas might come to the studio and have fucking 5 books of rhymes. And I come to the studio with fucking...
Who had 5 books?
Just various hood rappers.
But it was nobody you remember specifically like, yo, he got the book. I'm asking niggas for a pen and paper. This nigga got the book.
There was always niggas on top of my game, on top of their game. The few dudes that I came into the game early with and seen how they moved, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, shout out to my dude Cormega. Cormega was a dude that was ahead of the game at the time. You know, when they was talking about, if you ever talk about hood notoriety and guys that was kind of like making a name for themselves, few names stick out, you know what I mean? Back then, you know what I'm saying? Guys that had like cassette tapes, they would have cassette tapes and they would float around the hood, and it would be like whole albums worth of dope shit, like, you know what I'm saying? Tragedy, guys like that, like, you know what I mean? Those are the guys that was ahead of me that made me wanna do it more.
It's Hoffa, trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rappers. Got bars, I can hang with the backpackers. Trap star, I don't hang with the backpackers. I'm in the hood with the work, you heard. Making fiends leave earth, you heard. Got your baby mama thirst, you heard. Feel the flow, nigga, throw it in reverse. This the wave you need to surf, you heard.